My fiancé and I broke up last night. My 6-year relationship ended last night. Now, I know this is Reddit, so you're expecting some Jerry Springer story. Over-the-top drama or fanfiction about cheating. This is not that, sorry to disappoint. It's two adults who sat down, talked, and realized this were not going to work out as we expected. I got laid off from my software job over a year ago. It was fully remote, and the industry for those kinds of jobs is so competitive I knew my next tech role would need to be at least partially on site. The industry where I'm at is non-existent, so I went back to serving this last year, and I hated it just as much as I did in college. I've been interviewing on and off for the last year, with very little luck. My fiancé is the opposite. Her job here is secure, a job she can ride for 40 years till retirement if she wanted. If she wants to change companies or roles, there's competition in the industry here she could go to. Relocating could happen if she wanted, but her family and friends are all here, and she very much wants to raise kids here. We talked about the possibilities of what would come when I got another job. We held out hope for a fully remote position, or one I could commute for. Those hopes never really panned out though. A month ago, a friend reached out with a position I fit really well in. It's at a company that will look amazing on my resume if I work there for a few years, and if I want to I could stay for a decade plus. From what he told me, I aced the interviews and am the guy they want. The problem is, it's on the other side of the USA and I will have to relocate. The fiancé and have talked it over several times this last month. What to do if I got the offer, what about her job, the logistics of everything. It did not look good. She doesn't want to move, but is not opposed to it. We talked about me moving first, and her staying until she found work there. Neither of us were very fond of this. We talked about maybe doing some long-distance thing too, no dice. Throughout this all, there was no animosity on her end. No drama, no hatred. She told me she felt bad several times because she knew I was staying in a place with bad job prospects for her. I told her that was not the case several times. Last week, they made a really competitive offer. Full coverage of my relocation, large sign-on bonus, great perks. I hesitated to accept since I wanted to talk with the fiancé about it more, but she encouraged me to take the job and we would figure out what to do from there. I think it all came down to the fact this last month has illustrated something we both didn't really want to realize, where we see ourselves in 10 years is not the same. She wants to stay here, be with her friends and family, raise kids in her hometown. I want to be somewhere else. Even if I didn't get the job offer, it did not change the fact I didn't want to live here long term. I'm willing, and able, to move around for work. I don't have the same need to live around my family here. There's much more to this than just one aspect of life, there are at least a dozen we've realized we don't match on. But, I don't feel like getting into it. So, last night, we talked again. We agreed it was best for me to move and start my new job. We had put the wedding plans on hold anyway when I got laid off, so it's not like we're canceling anything. We're going to trickle the news out over the weekend. I love her, and I know she loves me. She's my best friend, and she made it clear that won't change. But still, this sucks so much. Let me analyze this story for you. This story is quietly devastating, not in the explosive, scandalous way that many relationship breakdowns are, but in the slow, bittersweet unraveling of two lives that were once so deeply intertwined. It's not about betrayal or toxicity. It's about love, maturity, and the painful realization that compatibility is about more than just affection and time. It's about long-term alignment, and sometimes, no amount of love can bridge a fundamental divergence in life paths. At its core, this breakup is a story about divergence, two people who deeply care for each other, but who are ultimately oriented toward different futures. What makes this story particularly poignant is the absence of blame or anger. The narrator isn't vilifying his ex-fiancée, and she isn't holding him back. There's no screaming match, no impulsive decisions, no third-party betrayal. It's the kind of breakup that doesn't happen because something went wrong, but because everything else moved forward and the relationship couldn't go with it. This couple did everything right. They had the hard conversations. They made plans. They were transparent with one another. They even encouraged each other to chase what was best for themselves individually. That level of maturity is rare, and it's what makes the loss so much more difficult. There is no emotional safety net in anger or resentment, only the ache of knowing that someone you love deeply and sincerely just isn't meant to be your lifelong partner. The story is also layered with themes of sacrifice, self-realization, and the limits of compromise. For the narrator, the last year has been one of stagnation and discomfort, losing a remote software job and returning to an industry he had hoped to leave behind. That limbo pushed the couple into existential questions about their future. Where do we live? How do we prioritize career versus family? What does permanence look like for each of us? While his fiancée was rooted to job security, family ties, emotional familiarity, he was adrift, needing the flexibility to go where the opportunities are. Their respective visions for the future were no longer in sync, even though their hearts were. There's also an unspoken tragedy in how time factors into all of this. 6 years together is not casual, it's significant. It's long enough to make someone part of your identity. Long enough to plan a life and imagine a future. But as often happens, the test of a relationship isn't just how long you've been together, it's whether your shared dreams can continue to evolve alongside your individual ones. In this case, they couldn't. The job offer becomes the narrative fulcrum, the turning point that forces a theoretical conversation into real-world consequences. It's a moment of clarity. The offer is more than just a professional opportunity, it's a symbol of change, a harbinger of the inevitable. The narrator doesn't just have to decide whether to accept a job, he has to decide if he's willing to reshape his entire life, or ask someone else to reshape theirs. And he chooses, heartbreakingly, to let go of a relationship rather than live in a place or a life that he knows isn't right for him. In the end, this story is about the hardest kind of love to lose, the kind where nothing is actually wrong, except the fundamental direction you're both going. The kind where mutual respect and affection still exist, but aren't enough to counterbalance the reality that love alone doesn't sustain a life together. There's a deep emotional intelligence in how the narrator frames the experience, no histrionics, no scapegoats, just grief and gratitude coexisting. He isn't just mourning the loss of a fiancé, he's mourning the loss of a best friend, a shared vision, and the version of his life he once thought he was building. And perhaps most heartbreakingly of all, he's also mourning the loss of simplicity, the hope that love would be enough to solve the problem of what comes next. It's a quiet, slow heartbreak, but no less powerful for it.